presentation that we're going to do is on the Module 2 vocabulary of the tissues. There is the epithelial tissue. It is a tissue that covers and lines the body and in the internal organs. This tissue has a side open, and the main function of the epithelial tissue is to absorb, extract, and protect. The first one is simple squamous epithelial tissue. Yeah. And they have one layer of flattened cells that allows substances to pass through them. They are in the lungs, the linings of the blood, and the lymph nodes. The second is the simple cuboidal epithelium tissue. So this one is found basically in the ducts of glands and in your kidneys. And the cells are shaped in little cubes, and they're all kind of in a row. And then there is simple columnar epithelium. The main role of simple columnar is protection. You can find simple columnar in the intestines. To transition over. Then there is the stratified epithelial tissue, and it has multiple layers. Stratified epithelial tissue is one that has a lot of layers of protective tissue. The first one is the stratified squamous epithelial tissue. It has layer cells that are flat. This type of tissue is in the mouth and the skin's surface. And then there's the stratified cuboidal epithelium tissue, and that one again are like little cubes, but instead there's a lot of them on top of each other, like stacked. So that makes it stratified. That's stratified, and then they're little cubes. And it's a protective tissue, and it's in sweat glands and in the stratified columnar epithelium. It is found in the eye and in the salivary glands and in the ducts. The role of stratified columnar is protection and secretion. And it can also move along things because it has little cilia on the top of them sometimes. Cilia are little hair-like structures that can be on top of cells. Then there is the transitional epithelium tissue, and it has 6 layers of cells on top of each other. They go from big to small. And it is found in the bladder. And then there's pediostratified epithelial tissue, and this one usually lines the body tubes, and it lines the respiratory passages, like so, your lungs and up here. And much of the, it's a lot of it, yeah, it has some of it has little goblet cells, like it looks like a goblet, and these goblet cells are specialized in making mucus. And then they secrete mucus also. So right here you can see all the different, we'll have it on the end of the video, but this is the different kinds of structures of the tissues, how they're structured and how many cells. Then we're going to go on to the connective tissue. Connective tissue is a tissue that is outside the cells, mostly. And so the first one is loose connective tissue. This tissue fibers are all loosely entwined. It is mostly found in blood vessels, dermis, tendons, ligaments, and internal organs. And also your skin, that's the dermis. But they are very interesting. And then there's reticular connective tissue. It forms like a really soft skeleton kind of thing. It's like to protect the stuff, so it's found around the liver, the kidney, the spleen, and the lymph nodes. And then there's dense connective tissue. It forms strong rope-like structures such as tendons and ligaments. And dense tissue is also fibers that are thick and less cell-like. They're more thickly built on top of each other. Yeah. Then there is bone. Did you believe that bone could be connective tissue? Bones include the tissue and marrow. They are located in your whole body. Bones are very interesting if you study the connective tissue process. And then there's cartilage. Cartilage is also connective tissue. It's usually in between joints and between bones. It's in the rib cage. A lot of it is in the rib cage. Your ears are made of cartilage, and point of your nose, and bronchial tubes. Cartilage is very flexible, but it's a connective tissue. And it's on your nose and your ear, and it protects the bones from rubbing against it. Blood is also a connective tissue. It's kind of weird because you kind of think of blood as like not connected. So it transfers oxygen and carbon, and it helps keep our body temperature and stuff like that. Blood is very important. And then there's the muscle tissue. There's 3 types of muscle tissue. There's skeletal, there's smooth muscle, skeletal muscle, and cardiac muscle. And these muscles are very different, but they do have cells in them. At the end of the program, you'll see a diagram of the different muscle tissue. And the muscle tissues are, you have over 500 muscles responsible for different movements in your body. Then there is the nervous tissue. The nervous tissue runs signals from your body parts through the spinal cord to the brain. The brain also sends signals back to all your body parts. The nervous tissue carries different types of nerve cells. The purpose of nerve tissue is so that you can feel pain when you get hurt. And so it's really cool how your nerves work. Thank you for listening to our presentation. At the end of the program, you'll see different pictures of our drawings of the tissues. Now we're going to do our skeletal system. And we're going to start at the epithelium. It is the end part of the long bone, growing separately from the shaft. And then there's the diaphysis. That's the shaft or long part of the bone. So this is your bone. This is this part. And then there's our reticular cartilage. The reticular cartilage is the cartilage that covers the articular surface. It lines the end of the bones. Then there's the predosum. There's a layer of connective tissue surrounding the bone, exact at the surface of the joints, so it connects it with the joints. And it also acts like a skin in the bone. Then there's compact bone. And compact bone is a sturdy, calcified, like calcium deposit, of the surface space, which makes the hardest, most durable bone. And then there's the spongy bone. And it looks like a sponge, but it is still very strong. It's just as strong as a compact bone. But in those little holes, there is red or yellow bone marrow. And then the tubercle provides support to the spongy bone. And this bone also contains a lot of red bone marrow, and it fills up the open spaces between the tubercular. And it's found in the ribs, skull, and vertebrae, and the spinal column. Yep. Then there's the medullary cavity. Medullary cavity. It is a marrow cavity for the shaft of the long bone. And it stores red or yellow marrow. Then there's the endostem. It's a layer of thin connective tissue that is on the outside of your bone. Then there's the marrow. So the marrow is the soft, spongy tissue that lies within the hollow interior of the long bone. And also, it's a major site for cell production. Yep. And then there's the osteocytes. It is a bone cell formed when the osteoblasts come embedded in a matrix. What did you say? Matrix. Oh, matrix of secretion. And then there's osteoblasts, and that's a bone-forming cell. So the cell makes the bone. Osteoclasts. And then there's the osteoclasts. The osteoclasts are large cells. The cells with more than one nucleus. Osteoclasts are the cells that degrade bone to normal bone. So they break down the bone. And they increase growth and healing. Then there's the buccal. It is one of the numerous minute cavities in the bone. It's small cavities. It's where the osteoclasts live. It's like their little houses. And then there's the central channel. The central canal is where the blood vessels run through the bone. So there are little holes in the bone inside of the inside of the endosteum. And then there's the epithelial plate. Epithelial plate is a cartilage plate in the metaphysis and is at each of the long bone. Yeah, it unites the shaft and the side of the growth of the bone. So thank you for listening to our presentation. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. Okay, thank you. Bye. Bye. Very boring. Okay. Oh, we forgot to do short bone. Oh yeah, we have to do the bones. Okay, and then there is the short bone, and that's usually like the wrist, and it's in the, like, we have a lot of little bones in here. They're carpal bones, and those are short bones because they're really little. Then there's the flat bone, sling, and usually in the skull, or your ribs are flat bones because they're flat. And then you have the long bone, and that's like, this is a long bone. We talked about that. In the leg, there's a long bone. Then there's the irregular bone, and that's like a vertebrae. It's in the spine. So, or there's a sesamon bone, and that's like in the kneecap. The kneecap is a sesamon bone.